Hey, folks, I am trying to get Chance on the line. Hey, Chance. Hi there.
How are you?
Great. I'm going to start just with a couple. Uh, we're going to offer some things for sale here. I'm just going to show everybody here. I'm trying to see if I can tip it. Okay, here's my necklace. It says "No Socialists." We are trying to make this sterling silver necklace a little longer so that we can actually say never socialism, like our never socialism campaign. The other thing we have for sale at nicholslive.com is a ring. And let's see, you can order it in the year of your birth. I'm trying to find where it says Liberty. Here it is. It says Liberty. And on the inside, it says United States of America and 1/4. This is an uncirculated quarter that has been custom created into a ring. What you will do is you will give your ring size and your year of birth. I don't think the ring is on the website. The necklace is not on the website yet, nicholslive.com. I will have my t-shirt on Thursday so that I can wear it and come on live so people can see what it looks like. We are getting ready. As soon as we have 10 orders, we will place the next order. So we've got quite a few coming in. So folks, I have with me Chance. He's in Texas, and I'm going to let him introduce himself a little more. I've met him 3 times at the Hear the Watchman conferences. He and his wife are 2 of the most amazing people that I know, that I've ever met. They are just kind and generous and sweet. He cares so deeply about veterans, and he did an awful lot for over 120 of them last Christmas. He cares about their depression, their PTSD, what they're going through, and the hard times. And Chance offers food for sale that lasts 20 years or more, and he gave them a whole big care package last Christmas. And I just, when I heard that yesterday, I just wanted him to be able to come on with us. When we think about what's going on in Nebraska with the flooding, the fires that they had in California a few weeks ago, with the tornadoes that went through Alabama and Arkansas, and our president went down to meet some of the victims there. We just never know when some natural disaster or something else is going to happen. You know, we face accidents, we face just all kinds of things. And Chance is very knowledgeable about preparedness, and I wanted to give him a chance to come on. People have asked me when we did our newsletter last year, Nichols Notes, people asked for information on preparedness, and we never got anything out to them about that. And so I wanted you to come on, Chance. So take it away.
Well, blessings, Mary. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on the show today. We talk about our veterans. I serve my country with pride, and if we're called to do it again, I would do the same. However, there are many veterans recently from serving in Iraq and Afghanistan that have gotten back to the States and are dealing with many issues, some medical, some psychological, PTSD, for example, but they're in need, and not just of supplies. And we're honored to be able to help our veterans in need with blankets and pillows and food and utility assistance and things like that. We're honored to be able to do that. But what they need in many cases, Mary, is fellowship. They need another brother or sister who has served to talk to about some things that are on their heart and that are on their mind. A lot of them deal with depression and to push away their own family and their own friends. So it is unfortunate. However, there are hundreds of thousands of veterans right now across our country that are dealing with this pain. They're dealing with the hurt. They're dealing with the things that they experienced overseas, and they need our help. So we do offer, again, sleeping bags, pillows, food, water, whatever they might need. If you can help, please reach out to us. I'm going to throw out a few phone numbers, not just for helping our veterans, but if you need fellowship or you need a Bible, we give away free Bibles. Reach out to us. My personal cell phone number is 818-720-0759, 818-720-0759. You can text me. I promise I'll get right back to you. Also, our two companies, AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com. That's AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com. We offer about 800 different survival products. On that site, we offer free training videos. Mary was talking about flooding. There is a training class on flooding, earthquakes, hurricanes, whatever you can think of. We cover it. So please go to that site, check out those free videos. If you don't know where you're at as far as being prepared for disasters in your own area, we also offer a free consultation that must be scheduled. So you can, again, text me at 818-720-0759. The other company that we own, and God's company, I got to tell you, all the walls were torn down, and that was all God's doing. So I can give him all the honor and praise. But we now have our own food line, simplycleanfoods.net. That's www.simplycleanfoods.net. You can see behind me, we carry fruits, GMO-free vegetables, GMO-free beef, chicken, eggs, turkey. All of our products are tested for heavy metals. They contain no chemicals, no preservatives. As a matter of fact, our foods only have one ingredient, right? There's only one ingredient on the package. Okay, so if you want to prepare, if you're preparing for a disaster, the last thing you need to do is to be eating empty carbs, right? So you need good minerals, good vitamins. You need protein in your body in order for you to be able to get through that situation safe and sound, okay? And again, that free consultation, if you guys don't know where you're at, you need to get prepared, we'll help you do that. I hope to see many of you coming up this end of this month. I think it's Mary, isn't it? The 28th, 29th, and 30th of March in Dallas, Grapevine to be exact, at the Hear the Watchman Conference in Dallas. We'll be there. Please come up to us, give us a hug. We're big huggers. If you need help, we're there for you. If you need fellowship, we're there. And if you need prayer, we're there for you.
Awesome. So tell us some of the things that you would suggest are most important for people to have when they're thinking. I mean, we talked about the most important thing is spiritual preparedness.
Absolutely. Without the Lord in your heart, without you being able to give over your day, your month, your year, and your life to the Lord, then we're truly lost, right? So it starts with spiritual preparation. We give over our lives to the Lord, but then we also, like in 1 Timothy 5:8, have a responsibility to prepare not only ourselves, but our families. We were having a conversation earlier. We were talking about, Mary and I were talking about community. We have a responsibility to help, and God calls us to do this, our neighbors, right? Because you're prepared doesn't mean necessarily that your neighbors are going to be prepared, right? So be ready in case of a hurricane, a flood, a fire. I mean, look what's happening all over the United States. They're out of control. Be prepared to be able to bring in someone else that is in need, maybe of food, maybe of water, or other supplies. Sit them down at your kitchen table. Feed them physically and feed them spiritually, right? So we're all called to share the word of God. And that's the greatest gift that you can give to another person. So be prepared to do that. Let's talk about priorities right now, okay? Mary, we have to have, number one, potable water on hand, okay? We recommend for each person in the household that you have 200 gallons of water. If you look at disasters like Katrina, you look at Hurricane Harvey and Irma, So many folks weren't prepared. When the power goes out, the pumps go down, guys. You've got to have water first and foremost. We suggest that you store that water in BPA-free containers. So that bottled water that you get from the store, kind of dangerous, guys. Those contains BPAs and can leach into the water itself, which is toxic to the human body. So storing water is very important, 200 gallons per person. Also food. It's fine if you want to go to the grocery store once a week, once every 2 weeks when you get paid and pick up an extra can of food or a bag of rice. But understand you need to have about 6 months, and we prefer of long-term storable food, right? Per person in the household, and we can teach you how to do that.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have heard that you can buy diatomaceous earth at a feed store, and if you mix that with rice, a bag of rice in a container that can be sealed real tightly, that you can store that for a long time. Probably white rice, not brown rice, because brown rice will spoil.
Right, you're absolutely correct. Diatomaceous earth has the ability of basically like cleaning out the drains, cleaning out the pipes, right? It goes into the body and just scours the intestinal tract, the digestive tract, and gets all that stuff that's been in there for years. They did a guy had surgery and hadn't had any barbecue, he said, for many years because it wasn't part of his dietary program that he was on. And they found in his body, in his colon, in his digestive tract, in his intestinal tract, they found charred bits of old chicken that he hadn't had in 10 years, right? So understand that you've got to get your digestive tract clear. How are we supposed to process the vitamins and the minerals when our digestive tract is all clogged up, right? So back to that, you're absolutely right. Everyone should have that on hand. You can even get the food grade, right? Diatomaceous earth. I know I'm saying that incorrectly. Also, great outside around your home. If you put this around your perimeter, it keeps those little insects from coming into the house because it just tears their little bodies up. So around your home, around your gardens, things like that's very important.
And where do you buy diatomaceous earth?
I'll have to get back with you. I've actually got a bag right outside door. It's a food grade diatomaceous earth, and you might check on Amazon, but just put it in a search, like Google, and you'll come up. Just look for food grade. That's the best.
Yeah, I know you can at a feed store. I'm not sure where else though.
Yeah, Amazon probably has it. I don't remember where we got ours, but we keep some on hand. So we talked about water, guys. We talked about food. Now, it is important that you understand the area of the country that you're in dictates how you are to prepare. For example, if I'm in Montana, I'm going to have a sleeping bag, right, that can go down to negative 20 degrees. However, if I'm in Florida, the other end of the country, that's not required. All I need is a sleeping bag that's maybe 40 or 50 degrees, right? So something as simple as having a good quality sleeping bag can save your life. Let's talk about a worst case scenario. You're in Idaho. There's a power goes out, and it's going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. That mummy bag, that negative 20 mummy bag, will keep you warm at night, right? It'll maintain your core temperature, your core body temperature at 98 degrees. It'll maintain it throughout the night. That will save your life. Having a fuel supply, right? Maybe it's corded wood for a wood stove. Maybe it's having enough propane on hand for your barbecue. A lot of the barbecues have these side burners on them. You might already have this in your backyard. Get 4 or 5 of these propane canisters at your local hardware store. Have those on hand. That way you can heat the water to both cook and clean and disinfect, right? It's very, very important. So water, 200 gallons. I want to reiterate here, food at least 6 months per person, and have a way to cook that food, to heat that water, and to make sure that you're drinking good quality potable water.
And I see a lot of people that are selling things like solar powered flashlights, so you don't have to have too big a store of batteries because you will eventually run out of those. Whereas a solar powered flashlight is something you can just stick outside. I guess you can't do that on a cloudy day, but you do have.
We recommend what they call a dynamo slash slow solar. So even when it's nighttime, you can crank this flashlight. It's a flashlight. It's a shortwave receiver. So for ham radios, right, to pick up those. It's an AM/FM radio. It has NOAA weather bands as well. It can charge a phone. Not that you would need your phone except for maybe contacts, but it can charge your phone. We do have those available on our site. It's called the Voyager. Very smart to have on hand. We never know, truly, if there's an EMP, how long that power is going to be out, Mary. So having flashlights, candles, a radio, things like that, having those on hand is so important to stay informed and to be safe. So many people get hurt during some of these major disasters because they cannot see their way inside their house or outside, right? So having something like that on hand is very, very important.
What about water purification?
Yeah, so we recommend everyone have some type of at least basic water filtration. What I mean by that is a filtration straw at the minimum. A filtration straw is unique because it can filter water out of a puddle, right? Or off of a leaf or whatever that might be. At least have a water filtration straw. We use the Clean Sip brand because they can filter up to 200 gallons of water and they can fit in your pocket, right? So the Clean Sip brand is probably this. I think we have those for like $15, right? Online wholesale. We'll have those at the conference as well. But having at least a filtration straw, a water filtration bottle is good as well. That they hold up to a quart of water. Or having an aqua mirror system that can actually filter large amounts of water, let's say from a reservoir, from a river, a creek, a stream, or something like that, where you can pump the water right into your own container. Very, very wise.
Now, is it a good idea if you're having to just take some really nasty water before you put it through, say, even a Berkey filter or a Alexa Pro or something like that, or the one that you're talking about? Is it a good idea to filter it through, for example, a T-shirt before you pour it in?
Yeah, boy, that's old school, and I love it. That's exactly what we need to do. So if you can screen out the sediment, especially from a river or a lake, right? If you can screen out the sediment first, you'll keep that filter clean for a lot longer. You'll be able to use it for a longer amount of time. Some people, I mean, I've done this myself. I was an Eagle Scout. We would not only filter our water, but we would boil it, right? Just to kill any bacteria, enzymes, germs that might be out there. When you get a water to a hard boil, you pretty much kill everything. So yeah, absolutely. Duplication is important. You must have clean potable water.
Is it necessary to boil the water before you put it in the filter?
It is not. No, the filter will do the job. I'm saying that in a situation where, so for example, we live out in the country where there are farmers that use, unfortunately, products like glyphosate in their crops, right? And that gets back into the river. So we want to eliminate any threat of putting that toxic chemical into our body. So how would you do that? Well, you can filter the water as well as boil the water just to make sure.
And I guess one way you could boil it and make sure that you're practically distilling it is to have a way for the water to hit the lid and then drink only what's hit the lid, right?
You're talking about, yeah, distillation, right? That's distillation. And so there are, you guys had to give me a call. There's so many little tips and tricks where you can actually set up a distiller, like from the pioneer ways, where you dig a hole in the ground, you put some plastic over the top, and and a cup underneath, and during the night, you know, you get this dew and it collects in the cup. That's distillation, right? Distilled water is probably the cleanest water, and it's the way that the Lord, you know, designed water from the clouds, right? So evaporation, condensation. However, the problem usually is there's no minerals or nutrients in the water, right? And so we have to make sure if we're going to drink distilled water that we have good sea salts and things like that to put electrolytes and minerals back into the water.
Now, one of the things Larry told me from all his work where he's been out in the jungle and had no access to clean water or food, he just had to forage. One of the tricks he said he had was he had a plastic bag and he would put leaves in the plastic bag, green leaves, and leave it in the sun, and the water would leach out of the leaves, and that would be safe to drink.
Absolutely. He's absolutely correct. So a leaf from a live tree, of course, will maintain water in the veins of the leaf, right? And you can extract that by making sure that it is a plastic bag that's tied tight. Out in that hot summer, the water will separate from the leaf, and you will have some drinking water. Absolutely correct.
Yeah, we're talking drops, but if it's life-saving, anything will help, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I encourage folks, you know, we are seeing weather patterns across this country. I was on Pastor Paul Bailey's show just the other day, and we talk about this a lot on his show. We're seeing weather patterns that are increasing at a rate that is unsustainable. And what I mean by that, and a lot of this is biblically based, but we're seeing more hurricanes, more tornadoes, way more earthquakes than we've ever seen, fires, flooding. Guys, this is going to continue. And you have to be prepared for that, okay? For those out there that have families, right? It is our responsibility as husbands and fathers and men of God to make sure that we are prepared for those events. And we are here to help you. So it doesn't cost you anything. Just reach out to us. I'll give you out my email too, Mary, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's Simply Clean Foods. That's Simply Clean Foods, that's plural, FOODS, at chef.net. Send me an email. Say, you know, hey, Chance, I could use some help here. Can you schedule a time that we can talk? I'll absolutely do that for you guys.
Well, I was gonna say, weather. There's a guy named Mike from around the world who works for the government, and he's talked about a lot of the changes that are happening related to this planet that's going around the sun right now. It's creating different pulls on our gravitational system. He said that the 100-mile-an-hour winds they had in Colorado Springs last week will not be unusual this summer. And we can expect anywhere in the country to be facing 150-mile-an-hour winds. So that is the kind of thing that is going to do damage to people's homes. So thinking about, you know, hurricanes are going to shake your house. Earthquakes will shake. He said that there are fault lines in the country where earthquakes could create issues. His feeling was the fires in California were actually the natural gas bubbling up, which is why they couldn't put them out. He didn't address whether there was any kind of a weapon that beam that would have caused the fire, but he felt they were not put out because of the natural gas bubbling up through the earth. How do we prepare ourselves for some of these natural disasters that we know we're prone to depending on where you live? For example, people living in Tornado Alley.
Absolutely. So remember, folks, that those wind speeds that Mary is talking about, 150 to 200 miles an hour, imagine that you've left something out in your front yard. Maybe it's a chair, maybe it's a table, but that tornado or that hurricane, those hurricane winds that are coming in through, they're going to pick those up and there's a good possibility to launch them right through your house. They're like a missile. So one of the things that you should do immediately, if you are in an area that's prone to high winds, and we're going to leave it there, high winds, that covers all of them, you need to, before, in advance, measure your windows, go to your local hardware store, and purchase some 3/4 inch plywood, pre-cut and pre-drill that plywood to fit every window in on your home. So a lot of times, in most cases, we have warning that there's a hurricane forming. In many cases, though, a tornado that can come out of nowhere. So go ahead and pre-cut that plywood so that if you have some warning, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, get that onto your windows. That can save your life, just that one little thing. The other thing is remove that lawn furniture, okay? Yeah, it might be nice in the landscaping to have a bird bath, right? But if that bird bath comes through your window or through your house, folks, you're in trouble, okay? Also, once you do these things, have a plan on where to go in your home in case you're going to deal with hurricane winds and you could not evacuate. You want to go to the center of the home. And the reason why is because there are going to be certain interior walls that are going to be able to protect you from that flying debris. You want to be under a major support. What I mean by that is that's why a lot of we choose bathrooms, right? Because it's a small area that's supported on 4 sides by 4 walls, right? So an interior bathroom towards the center of the house is probably the safest place to be. Make sure before you get to that safe location that you have your food, your water, your flashlights, maybe a 2-way radio, whatever that is, have that with you, ready, on hand. Because during a disaster, your family is going to need you to remain completely safe, and to make them feel safe, you need to have all of those supplies right there so that everyone's going to be okay and just weather that storm.
So that'd be a good thing just to keep in your bathroom at all times then, because that's a really good place to go for safety, is that central bathroom. So maybe having a little bit of a few cans of something with a can opener or the pull top, and some water, whether it's bottled water or your sports bottle that's got a filter on it, your flashlight. So that's a great place to keep things like that.
Absolutely. That's why we create what we call go bags or bug out bags. The idea is for you to have all of your supplies in one place. You can put these things on your backpack so that your hands are free to hold on to your children or your wife or your spouse or whatever that might be. Your hands are free to do other things. But yeah, you can, we have survival kits that start at $49, go all the way up to $300, right? So having those things put together in advance is a must. Keeping a survival kit or a go bag in your car is also very important. How many times or how many people do we know, Mary, that have broken down on the side of the road in an area where there's not a lot of traffic and they can't get any help, or maybe it's the middle of the night? You need to be prepared for these things. Why put yourself through, so much pain and drama when you don't have to, right? Make sure you have these supplies in your home and in your car that are going to meet the needs of your family, right? Let's say you have 3 children. You need to be prepared for all 5 people, husband, wife, 3 kids. Have some coloring books and crayons in there, right? If you take medication, have some spare medication in your bag. Have a change of clothes in your bag. You can go on our website, American Survival Wholesale, and you can see what we put in some of our bug out kits, right? We can do it, of course, cheaper than you can do it because we buy in bulk, right? And we're going to have one of these actually displayed at the Washington conference for everyone to see. Whether you attend or you don't, that will be available to you at a pretty hefty discount.
One of the things I discussed with our conference call last night was the idea of having some of your important vital records, birth certificates, social security numbers, photocopied, and have not keep it just in your own home, but have a photocopy of everything in a sealed envelope for your privacy with somebody you trust in another state, and maybe exchange. You take you take their information, they keep yours, family member, close friend, as a way of having access to that information should something happen, so that your house is destroyed and your vital records are gone. And what if something is big enough that the vital records in your community are no longer available?
Yeah, let's take that one step further. So with this technology that we have in our pockets, Mary, a lot of folks, what they do is they take pictures of all of their documents and they keep them on their phone. Be very careful who, like she's saying, who you share your personal information with. For example, your social security number, right? So what we have done is we have photocopied our documents. We have our documents in our fire safe, but we also have another copy. And guess where it's at? It's not in the house. It's buried 4 feet under the ground in a watertight, airtight container. Okay. So it doesn't matter if there's a fire, a hurricane, or anything else. You're going to be safe if you're 4 feet underground. So think about that as well. You can hide your documents, have a spare set, but not hand them over to someone else that you don't trust, right? So I think that's a great idea.
And you can get something about this size. It's about 12, 15, 16 inches by, I think, 4 inches. And I think it's only $20 on Amazon, because my church looked into something like that for a 100-year canister to bury.
Yeah. So they're called,
yeah.
I think one of the nicknames for them are burial tubes. They even have them. We sell them for long rifles for assault weapons and things like that. You can put them under the ground to keep the big bad boy up top from confiscating your weapon. So that's another discussion for another day. Self-defense is important, and we can talk about that maybe on a different show.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. What kind of tools do you think are really important for the sake of an emergency?
So that's a big question, but let's start with a basic tool. So if you guys, anyone out there has natural gas for heat and for their stove, you need what they call an earthquake tool. Your natural gas company does not provide this. That is an emergency shutoff tool that you actually attach to the natural gas main. Okay. In a disaster, utility workers are way too busy to take care of every household. So you, an earthquake or major flood, need to turn off that natural gas. So let's start there. An all-around great tool, whether you're a hiker, a camper, or for emergencies, is what we call a 6-in-1 folding shovel. So it's not just a shovel where you can dig a latrine or maybe plants and things like that to harvest plants, edible plants, but it's also got other tools like a saw built into it, and a can opener built into it. So several tools in one. It's nice because they fold up. You can wear them on your waist. That's one that you should absolutely have. Also, in your garage, really smart to have like a crowbar or a claw hammer, anything that if you in an emergency, you've got to make an escape and a door is jammed. You want to be able to get out of that as well. I mean, the list goes on and on, but to have a basic emergency toolkit all the time in your car and at home, no matter who you are, whether you're a carpenter or not, having some basic tools is very, very important when there's no one available to help you if something does go wrong.
So an important tool for your car would be one of these things that can break a window and slice through your seatbelt.
Yeah, a seatbelt cutter. Yeah, we offer those as well. They're under $20. Absolutely. So if you're in a situation where you've been in a car accident and your door will not open or your seatbelt is stuck, you're going to have to get out of that situation, get out quickly before a car maybe catches on fire or it's in the middle of the highway in the middle of the night and you're in danger. So absolutely, you should always have that in your car ready to go.
And, if you're leaving home, a good knife with you would be not necessarily as a weapon, but you know, there are heavy duty knives that yeah, like Chance is just showing. If you've got a heavy duty enough knife, you can even cut firewood by, you know, use it as an axe, and be able to provide fire for yourself if you're out someplace where you can't get home.
Yeah, there's great survival knives out there. We carry some as well. They have emergency fishing line and a compass and matches and things like that in the handle. But on the handle itself, or on the blade itself, there's a saw on one side and a knife on the other. They're very durable. Like she said, if you need to cut kindling or something like that, it's good to have a knife on hand. You cannot express the importance of a quality knife, right? We like Gerber and Kershaw. I think I'm carrying a Smith & Wesson right now. A cheap knife, I guess it's better to have a cheap knife than no knife, but it's important to have a good knife on hand at all times.
Now, I'm going to look up some of your free classes that you have available. Rather than just spending time, killing time on YouTube, I do try to pay attention to some news so I know what's going on. But I think a really wise thing to do is to look at some survival skill issues on YouTube or take classes in various places. I took a camp out one October, I think it was 2015 or 16, and we went down to 20 degrees, and I was not adequately prepared with my thin tent and my thin sleeping bag. We weren't expecting those temperatures, and it just dropped. And I went into my car, and I still couldn't stop shaking, even with the, you know, turning the heat on. I finally had to go out drive. But we were getting water out of the pond that the cows drank out of, and filtering it through a t-shirt and then boiling it. And you know, we learned how to create a feather stick, which is where you slice a stick very, very thinly on the edge, which helps create kindling. You know, one of the things we had to do was learn how to build a fire and get it going. One of the things you can do for cooking is dig a hole, 2 holes. You dig one straight down, and then you dig one at an angle. And you can put your firewood in like this and have something on top of the round hole that goes down, so that you are, isn't that called the Dakota fire hole? I think that's what that's called.
Yeah, that's actually that comes from the Native Americans who taught actually the white men how to do that. But yeah, that's one way. Rocket stove is another way. There's so many different ways that you can build a great fire, and it's very important, especially, you know, in a situation like you were in. You could have, if you guys hadn't been prepared, if you didn't have your vehicles there, you could have froze to death, right? So, you know, getting an emergency shelter set up, getting a good fire going is very, very important. Being able to start a fire, to learn some of the basics, right? You know, of not getting carbon monoxide in your tent, for example. These are all just skills. I want to get back to what you said. This is really important. How many people, you know, during their time off of work, get in front of the TV or watching something on YouTube that, you know, maybe is not so important, might be funny, but not so important, when we could be learning a skill, right? There is some great information out there. I believe everyone should be qualified and certified in basic first aid. It's a free class, usually given by either your local fire department or your Red Cross, and CPR. Everyone should be qualified in CPR. Having that knowledge could save maybe someone who you love, save their life, right? Basic skills like canning, all right? My grandmother canned, and she passed that to my mom, and my mom passed it down to us kids. But it's almost a lost art, you know, some of the things that we've, you know, learned from the past, from our pioneering days, we're starting to lose. But there's some great information on YouTube. If you want to get into it, But having a skill set is great. Take that spare time that you have, you know, spend it with the Lord first, and then learn a skill, right? That absolutely help you out. Gardening, another one. Learn a skill.
I've been to several prepper type shows. They have them in Virginia and North Carolina, and I don't know further west from there, but um, they offer classes in basic emergency survival type skills. There are camps you can go to that will take you out in the woods and teach you about edible plants and various things you can do. Um, I highly recommend doing those. A lot of those, the entry fee to get in is usually fairly low, and a lot of the classes are offered free. There are some that they offer for an additional fee that you have to take, but a lot of these basic survivalist type skills can be found at a show like that. Um, I know they've had quite a few in Virginia over the last. I haven't seen any recently, but I haven't been looking. Um, See, there was. He was asking about some more cooking and fire ideas. Supplies you need for cooking and fire. I mean, this is where your cast iron pans are really good because it can go into the fire. You can even bake, you know, if you've got a Dutch oven that's got a lid on it, you can put coals above the top as well as on the sides, and or coals as in you know, your firewood coals or even charcoal coals.
A Dutch oven is great for making stews and things like that. Yeah, you can put it right in the fire. But there's two sides to that, Mary. So if you have this in your car, that's one thing. But the backpack, what we call the survival kit or go bag, you cannot afford to put that kind of weight in that bag, right? Every little ounce, it might be fine in, you know, the first half mile, but I tell you, trust me, as a former military guy myself, that adds up over miles and miles and miles. So if you're going to if you're going to go camping or hiking or something like that, I recommend what they call a mess kit. It's usually 5 pieces. It's going to have a folding skillet. It's going to have a plate inside. It's going to have a cup inside, and utensils, stainless steel utensils inside. So I highly recommend something like that. They weigh under a pound. They don't take up a lot of real estate in your bag, but definitely have something like that. Another thing, think about duplication here. We're talking about starting fires, guys. Yes, have, you know, waterproof matches. Maybe have a big lighter or what they call a fireplace lighter on hand. Maybe have them both. Or what we like as well, I should say, is a magnesium fire striker. There are certain parts of the country that are damp quite a bit, right? You get into areas down in Louisiana, anywhere where there's a lot of humidity, it's hard to start a fire with wet kindling. So understand there are things that you can do, you can put in your bag with you to help you start a fire, even in a humid situation. For example, cotton balls, right? Everyone has cotton balls. Take your cotton balls and a little petroleum Vaseline and rub those in your hand like this, right? Make little balls out of them. Put them in a Ziploc bag and squeeze the air out and seal them and put them in your pack. They will start a fire almost instantly, okay? The magnesium fire striker, magnesium burns so hot. If you've got those cotton balls ready to go, strike it one time, you've got a fire. Things that other people don't think about, a magnifying glass, right? You can take your reading glasses, Mary, did you know this? And just in a hot day, I mean, on a bright, sunny day, you can start a fire with your reading glasses. You can start a fire with the magnifying glass, right? There are so many ways that you can do this. But the most important thing is don't count on nature to help you out. You need to be prepared and have certain items in your bug out bag.
I keep an old Altoids tin in which I have some cotton balls. I've got a little bit of Vaseline. You know, you can just use your chapstick. That'll work too to get it moist. I'll have a small ferro rod, Another thing you can use is jute. Just pull it apart into little tiny strings.
That's right.
Paracord is something that's really, really important to have. You know, if you're having to leave home, because you can strap branches together to make a lean-to, and paracord will come with multiple layers of string inside, so you can pull it apart. That's and right. Tie knots and keep it going. You know, one of the things to watch on YouTube is knot tying. How to tie different kinds of knots.
That's right. I was in the Navy, and that's one of the first things in the academic side that you learn is how to tie proper knots, right? So a bowline or a clovefish or something like that, there's purpose-driven knots, if you know what I mean. So what some people commonly refer to as a slip knot is very, very important if you're in a situation where you've got to rappel and you don't have the proper gear. You talked about paracord. Paracord is so important. The tensile strength alone of paracord for its size is absolutely, well, look at that, is absolutely amazing. So yeah, learn knot tying. We're so fortunate. You know, I didn't grow up with the internet back in the 70s, but I appreciate it now. You know, there's good and bad, and I think in everything, you know, positive things that we can, you know, take from technology, and there's some evil things out there too, right? So what's great is there are some great training, survival training tips on YouTube. As a matter of fact, our training series is on YouTube as well, if you type in American Survival Wholesale on YouTube. But yeah, you know, take advantage of that information. It can absolutely save your life.
Okay, somebody asked about some good barter items. I'm going to answer a few of those things, and then you add what I've left out. Obviously, food. You're more likely to have somebody who needs some food than just having gold or silver. Alcohol and cigarettes. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I don't want cigarettes in the house. I haven't stockpiled any of that. But I have bought the little tiny vodka and whiskey bottles. I just have 6 of each. And I have them up in the closet. I have a couple in my bug out bag. And I have that available. It's just a little bit. But the advantage of having something like that is vodka is very good for sterilizing.
Absolutely.
And so if your pan gets dirty and you need to clean it so you're not passing on germs from something to the next, and you don't have any soap and water or boiling water, just swish it with a little bit of vodka. Whiskey is very good as an antiseptic if you have a cut and need to treat it. You can use that. So I've got it for a dual purpose. And then if I run across somebody who's addicted to alcohol and just can't cope, rather than them being getting violent, I can pacify them with having a little bit of that. So those are a couple of the things that I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the bartering system works when we have a grid down situation where the store's shelves are empty. I mean, I hope most people know by now, most of your major grocery chains, even the smaller stores, only carry 72 hours worth of food and water, right? They don't have the big stock rooms like they had in the old days. Because everything is so efficient, the trucks are running every day, there's no need for it. The problem with that is exactly what we saw in Katrina. Those store shelves that have 3 days of food last 4 hours, right? And everybody and their uncle is down there raiding the store, okay? So you can't rely on that. You've got to have your own food, your own water, your own supplies. By the way, we can talk about first aid kits. Make sure your first aid kit is current, okay? Open it up. Make sure those bandages are still good. They do have a shelf life, right? Make sure that over the years you haven't removed items from your first aid kit and forgot to replace them. There are many items in there that are, like you say, dual purpose, right? But let's talk about other items that we can barter. So what we know is, first, everyone needs to have water. Second, everyone needs to have food. Third, everyone needs to have some type of shelter or heat or way to cook their food, okay? Now, let's go outside aside that for a second. We also know that having fuel on hand is important. Maybe you don't have fuel, but the guy down the road does, and he needs food. So you need things to be able to trade for that and or services, right? In a grid down situation, no one's working. Okay, there are no tradesmen out there. So you either have to do it yourself or you need to trade in order to help someone else, right? So ammo, huge, huge. Popular calibers like 22 long rifle, like the 223-556, like the 30-30 or 308 or shotgun shells, right? That is great, great bartering inventory. Okay, have that on hand. Just like Mary said, alcohol can be used in so many different ways. Vodka, you're right, is absolutely great for sanitizing. Having some cigarettes on hand for those who smoke, but of course they can't buy them anymore. It's like a heroin addict. They don't have their cigarettes, they're going to get a little grumpy, right? And they'll do whatever it takes to get cigarettes. So be prepared for that. Be prepared to defend your property. And again, I think Mary will get into that on another show because it's time consuming. But be prepared to defend your property, right? But having a nice inventory of items on hand. The mindset is this: have things that you're going to use anyway in your daily life, right? So it doesn't really affect you. Like, for example, our long-term storable food we eat every day. We feed our workers every day because that's the type of food, GMO-free food, that we want in our bodies, right? We make smoothies with it in the morning. So you're going to eat your food anyway. Have some extra food on hand. Things like paper towels, things like toilet paper, right? These are multi-purpose. You can, if you don't have any kindling, you can take your paper towels. They'll start immediately with a magnesium fire striker, right? So this is just a few of the items that you can have on hand to barter and to trade with other people.
Always good to have a roll of toilet paper in your car, or at least a partial roll, because you never know when you're going to be at a gas station and they ran out.
Yeah, well, also maybe a Folgers coffee can as well, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yep. Coffee's a good trading barter item as well. Okay, this will have to be the last question. Somebody asked how much ammo to have. I think that kind of depends on per person.
Yeah.
There's one other question about trying to figure out when to bug out or stay in. I think it's going to depend on the situation and your safety in knowing where to go if you leave. Can you get there safely?
Yeah, so I recommend, well, let's answer that question first. If it's a life-threatening situation where you need to evacuate, there's no question. How many people have been killed because they thought that their home was safe during a major storm, right, or hurricane? Don't take that chance. Don't take that chance. Get up and go. We recommend that you are able to bug out to a location within 30 minutes of your home, even if it's on a bicycle or you have to hike out, right? So within 30 minutes of your home. You don't want to be in inclement weather. You don't want to be out there in the weather trying to get to a location that's hours away. You might not make it, right? So our history, that's the pioneers. Many have passed away trying to get from point A to point B and without proper planning and proper clothing. So have a bug out location, usually within a half hour. Have another form of transportation. Like I said, maybe it's going to be a bicycle that doesn't require any fuel. But plan that out ahead. We train, right? If you have a family, make it fun for your family. If you have kids, say, okay, guys, we're going to practice today. In case there's a major flood or disaster, this is what we're going to do, and get them involved. Everyone has a job. You carry this, you carry this, and we train. We're going to practice. Don't count on your highways. Don't count on your byways and freeways. Plan a route that is off of those main thoroughfares, because you will most likely, in a major disaster like we saw just recently in Florida, you'll get trapped. You'll be stuck. So plan route B, plan route C, and practice that route. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, it sounds great. One final thing on community before we finish here. Know who your neighbors are. Try to get to find out, do you have a doctor in the neighborhood or a nurse? Do you have a teacher in the neighborhood? How about a plumber or an electrician? Just even keeping tabs on who they are and what they do, so that you know who has skill sets in case of an emergency, that you can again have something to barter for their time even. But your skill, everything that you are skilled in becomes a bartering item for you personally, and will help to save your life in an emergency if you have the ability to teach somebody or do something for someone, not only just give them something.
Yeah, that is absolutely great advice, Mary. Great advice.
Give your contact information again.
Absolutely. So my email is simplycleanfoods, that's plural, simplycleanfoods at chef.net, like the cook, chef.net. My phone number is 818-720-0759. I'll repeat that, 818-720-0759. The consultations are free. Please, folks, I love to do this, but we do operate a business. That's how we support our veterans. Go to these two websites if you want to get prepared. www.americansurvivalwholesale.com. That's americansurvivalwholesale.com. And then our company, Simply Clean Foods, it's www.simplycleanfoods.net. Now, I'm going to offer something for your listeners, only for your listeners. If you go to simplycleanfoods.net and you purchase the Are You Serious pack, it's Are You Serious? It's one of all of our fruits and our vegetables, all GMO free, free shipping. If you purchase that pack and you use the promo code Simply Space Clean, Simply Space Clean, I'm going to give you 10% off your order and a free credit card survival tool that will fit in your wallet and or your purse. You won't even know it's there. I've forgotten it was there twice. TSA took it away from me at the airport.
I've lost 2 through TSA.
Yeah. I always forget. So yeah, we're going to give you a free or 10% off and a free credit card survival tool. Our way of saying thank you. Once I know, once you try our food and you see how much better it is, especially our fruit, than even store-bought at the local grocery store, you'll be hooked, folks. The fruits are so sweet, like they were the way that God intended them to be, without all the genetic modifications.
So are they freeze-dried or dehydrated, or how are yours?
They are, yes. All of our fruits and vegetables, meats, chicken, eggs, and turkey, eggs are dehydrated, are all freeze-dried and have a shelf life, due to our packaging, of up to 25 years, stored at room temperature in your home.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Chance. We really appreciate that. I will say that the credit card tool he's got, I lost 2. It had a little pocket knife type knife edge on it, a little saw blade edge. It had a can opener. I've forgotten, so it's got a
wrench and
little wrench and a screwdriver. I don't think it's got the Phillips, but it's got a little flathead.
Right.
So
well, I'll make sure at the next conference I get you a couple as backups.
I'm not going to be able to come to this one, I don't think, unless something very dramatic happens in the next week to change my situation. But thank you, Chance. We appreciate it, folks. Please remember Larry's needs. He's going to need some help tomorrow. His PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. If you need an alternative way and you don't do PayPal, go to nicholslive.com, and there's a GoFundMe as well there. You can send cash only in the mail. He cannot cash checks or money orders. If you need other ways to donate, come to our conference call that's listed underneath the video here, and you can talk to me directly, and I can give you other alternative suggestions. We do have a couple other ways to get money to him that we can work with you on. So thank you. His PayPal again is nicholslive@aol.com. Thanks again. We'll talk to you tomorrow with Larry. And thanks, Chance. Appreciate it a lot. And we did have one person ask if you'd be willing to do a conference call with us. Our conference calls are Monday and Friday night at 8 Central. If you'd be able to do anything like that, to do any kind of training with them.
I would absolutely consider that. We've got this conference in March. We've got Coach Dave in April, Pastor Paul Bagley's in May, and Pastor Spalding's in June or July. So our schedules are a little crazy right now. We're going to be in and out of the office. There'll always be someone here in the warehouse, but yeah, if I can make that work, come on Monday or Friday in the evening, I'll absolutely do that for you guys.
Okay, and by the way, folks, don't forget tomorrow night at 8 Central, we are doing chapter 3 of Larry's book, 28 Years to Nowhere. We're doing a book club on Wednesday nights, so we're on chapter 3 tomorrow night. Thanks again. We will talk another time. Bye.
God bless.